But, you know, what I'm saying is, you know, the question of corruption comes again, and the will to actually fight it. Again, we've mentioned turnaround maintenance of refineries. The government has admitted that this turnaround maintenance wasn't exactly done. They've admitted that it was actually a way to take funds.
Yeah, it was a conduit pipe, yes.
Exactly. So if we have admitted as much, and we know those whom we give the contract to, for God's sake, what's holding us back from at least indicting them? If we will not prosecute them, if we will not go the whole hog,
yes,
what's wrong with an indictment?
That's why I said that this present government has a lot on its shoulders. There must be political will to fight corruption. And I agree with you. It was exactly what the comrade governor said yesterday. He said those people who have been responsible for siphoning all the money during the era of turnaround maintenance, because it was all turnaround maintenance we used to hear then, should definitely be brought to the books. But in bringing them to the books, we must also use as an example, so that it can act as a deterrent to those who in future might want to use such sharp practices as a measure of siphoning money. But you must also agree that it is because you have seen the problem, that is why they have also brought those who have built refineries in the past. But I think the government should go beyond that to tell Nigerians how much they're actually going to use in turnaround maintenance. That's one issue the Minister of Finance Minister of Petroleum didn't address yesterday. I expected her to tell Nigerians, because at this point in time, Nigerians are very suspicious. They're suspicious of every single cent or farthing you tell them you're going to spend. So they should tell Nigerians, yes.
Okay, let me just put this in. It comes from Boye. He says, please, let's ask you, how people in the rural area will survive subsidy due to poor distribution of fuel and unstable price. This is, I think Marco highlighted this 2 days ago, where they talk about not having the same
they will benefit, because what's going to happen now is that definitely the price of petrol will not be 65 naira anymore. Once subsidy is removed, we're going to have petrol dancing between 120 naira, 130 naira, 140 naira. Because as it stands now, I imagine that there are areas where fuel is being sold for 85 naira. It's been confirmed. There are areas even in Kano, in the interiors, where fuel is being sold for 104 naira. So if you have that when it's
supposed to be 65.
So when we now have that, the market forces, Chamberlain, the vagrancies of the market forces, that is demand and supply, do you understand, will now balance up the price, just like what is happening in the foreign exchange market, even though it is being regulated. Depending on, it will balance it, because when it is balanced, it therefore means that the way it is demanded in the village, that is the way it will be supplied in the village. Do you understand where I'm coming from? Like, just simple economics. The way I would demand it in the urban areas like Lagos, like Benin, like Port Harcourt, like Warri, do you understand, like Kaduna, like Zaria, it's not the same way I would demand for fuel in my village.
Okay, because some of these questions just come.
So that would balance it up.
They haven't actually seen any kind of clear-cut scenario planning on the part of governments. They just think that it's just one track, one-dimensional perspective from government saying, well, yes, we need to deregulate, benefits of deregulation, without just cutting down to the brass tacks. No.
Well, the government has clearly said there are going to be benefits, so I think we should give them a benefit of doubt. I'm not going to start going into those, even though I know those benefits. I think that should be left for the government. You understand?
Let me come in here, because
to come up to tell you this is what we are going to do.
I understand what you're going to do.
You understand what I'm trying to say?
I think the government should also understand the fears of the people. Remember, we had the minister here, Mr. Labaran Mako, and he came with a list of...
Yes, that's what it's called.
Yes, a list of what the government aims to do for the people from the subsidies that will be removed. Now, but again, it was Marco who observed something. She said she would love to see what we call some kind of dates attached to all of that. When you say you want to give us, for instance, the rail system should be working again in Nigeria, we should be able to say, okay, between the January 2012 and maybe June, we should be able to see something. So that hasn't been done until the government decides to put all of that, so that we can now start to check and ask questions. Because if you don't have a date, a timeline of all of this to say this is how it's going to be, no one can actually ask you. Because until you do that, when we get to that particular date and we haven't seen anything, we can now say, hello President, hello Minister, why haven't we been able to see all of this?
Yes, I think what you should say, it shouldn't be a timeline, it should be a time frame.
All right.
Do you understand?
That's what I mean.
We can say in the next 6 months, in the next 7 months. Because if you say December, look at what happened to President Yar'Adua. May he so rest in peace. He gave himself a timeline on power, and he failed. And he had to accept it that he failed, and he eventually apologized.
But at least he set goals for himself.
He set goals for himself, but he couldn't achieve it. And that's a mistake of saying...
That's not a mistake.
No, when I mean a mistake, I'm not saying that you shouldn't set a timeline. But you should be very careful as a government when you know that there are so many parameters. There are people fighting these whole issues. There are people that... in political science, we're taught military-industrial complex. There are those that benefit from pestilence and war. They want a country to be in permanent war situation because that's where they make their money from. Do you feel where I'm coming from, the parameter I'm trying to draw here?
That's life.
So that is exactly what we are trying to say. If you fall prey to this kind of people, they will ambush you. Look at the power sector, for example.
In other words, the president fell prey to those who were causing pestilence and warfare in the power sector. That's what we're saying. But let me tell you what the advantage of that is. Nigerians will hold that date. 3 months to the date or 6 months to the date, if they're not seeing anything, they will ask you, are you sure you can still deliver? 3 months to that date, are you sure you can still deliver?
No, but I think the life of this administration is 3.5 years. So if they don't give, even if the administration doesn't give itself a timeline, in 1.5 years, if Nigerians don't see any marked difference, it has to be marked.
Well, you have given us a timeline, which was what that's
the timeline. That's a time frame because in 1.5 years, it adds up to 2 years of the life of the administration. So in 2 years, you must have a report card.
I think we should just call it a target and say, this is the target.
We've been given a time frame by the Minister of Information, who totally agreed with you and said that, by 2015, if fuel subsidy deregulation or
all that doesn't work,
takes place, kicks off, because it hasn't kicked off yet, and it might take a while for it to actually kick off. We can tell you that the projects we have in this pamphlet will be completed before the end of this administration.
Life of the administration. And that's why I'm saying that if it gets to 2 years of the life of this administration, which is half, most times even the ministries are reviewed, ministers are even changed.